Good evening, reefers, and welcome back to Dan's Reef. And we're just going to go over today the 7-month update since I've been running the Waterbox Frag 85.3. So this aquarium is 3 foot wide and it's 2 foot deep and it's 16 inches high, and its capacity is just over 300 litres. So this is the 7-month update. There's a few things to go over today, so we'll go over that. Things that are good, things that are not so good, and we'll go from there. So we'll kick off with the parameters. So most of the main stuff at the minute, my nitrates are currently sitting at 10. There's obviously no ammonia and nothing in the middle for the nitrite. The magnesium is currently sitting at 1280. My calcium is 490, so it's a tad high, and I'll get onto that in a moment. And my alkalinity is currently 10.2, which has actually come down, and my phosphate at the moment is 0.01, which has come up a bit, and again I'll go over that in a minute on what's going on with phosphate. So parameter wise, what's been going on, so obviously I've been on the Red Sea 4-part dosing. This is the first dosing I've done on this tank since it's been transferred from what was the old M90 aquarium, and I've been on the Red Sea 4-part dosing. And so what happens, so basically you read the instructions for the 4-part dosing and it all seems really simple, really easy. Base all your dosing off of alkalinity uptake and you go from there. What I found was I started dosing the minimum requirement for this sort of size tank. When you look at what they say you should be dosing, the part 1 was around 9 mil per day, and the part 2, so part 1 on the kit is the calcium and magnesium, and part 2 of the dosing covers your KH and alkalinity. So the part 1 I started dosing 9 mil per day, and the part 2 I started dosing, it's double that, so it's 18 mil on the second dose. So I did that for the first, I think it was the first week. So, and they do say within the instructions, just base it off the calcium uptake and you can go from there. So I wasn't running this on a dosing pump. I'm currently not using an automated dosing pump, so I've been dosing all of this manually per day. And what I found was after the first week, I did my next lot of testing that I do every Saturday, like you normally do. And one thing I found was after I did the calcium uptake, so the calcium levels, so I was sort of hovering around the 380 mark for calcium, and I was keeping that steady at that number just through water changes, which were helping stabilize it. And part of that reason for the stabilisation of keeping the numbers higher was because I was using Red Sea's Coral Pro Salt, which is the black bucket, and that has got higher levels, and I think that's why I was able to get away with it for quite a few months before I had to start dosing the supplements. So my calcium went up to about 490, and I thought, right, so I need to sort of back that off a little bit, because the uptake, you know, it had gone beyond what was sort of what I expected the uptake to be. So I thought I'm gonna have to back that off a bit. I did my other parameters, and then where it got interesting was I tested my alkalinity, and that had gone up from 9, and within a week of dosing that had gone up to 15, and I was like, oh my days, you know, what the hell's happened? How's it gone up so high so quickly? So immediately I sort of backed off the dosing, so I dropped the dosing to just twice a week, just so that I wasn't not dosing anything, but I just wanted to back it off a little bit. So I dropped it to twice a week, tested after that week, and my alkalinity was still sitting at 14. So I was like, right, this is not going to be a quick turnaround. So I ended up stopping dosing altogether. So I stopped dosing every single part of it, because for 2-3 weeks straight, my calcium has still been really high, so it's been about 490 to almost 500 on one of the original tests I did. So I backed off the dosing altogether in order to bring the alkalinity down. I wanted to bring the alkalinity down because being at 14, 15 was way too high. It does say in the instructions, if your alkalinity does slightly buffer above the calcium uptake, you can back off that one parameter, but obviously because it had jumped up so much initially, I had to back it off quite drastically really in order to bring it down. And it has been steadily coming down, so it's been 3 weeks now. So 3 weeks in of not really dosing any of the 4 parts, my calcium is still sitting at 490 and my alkalinity is now sitting at 10. So it's taken 3 weeks for it to come back down from 15 down to 10, which is, and again, it only took a week to go up from 9 to 15. So it's it's been a bit of a sort of worry trying to get that balanced. So I'm still currently not dosing any of the 4 part. And the reason why that is because there's a couple of things that have happened. So one, for the last 2 weeks, I haven't done a water change, and the first time I did that was yesterday. And the reason why is because I was waiting on my new salt to come. So I've actually changed now to the Red Sea blue bucket, and I was waiting for that to come. And the reason why I've gone to the blue bucket is because mixing out the gate, that sort of sits at around alkalinity of 8, whereas the Coral Pro sort of mixes in at 12. So because my alkalinity seems to be like it wants to sit higher on the dosing, I just thought if I stick to a salt, or go to a salt that's only going to mix at 8, it sort of gives me a lower level to start with, and hopefully I can carry on doing that. And I'm going to see, I did a 50 litre water change yesterday, and I did my usual maintenance and stuff that I do, so I did that, and it's been generally it's been okay. There's one thing there's sort of one caveat to that really that came off the back of not doing the water change, and it coincides with fish stock as well. So as you guys probably know, if you watched the last couple of videos, you would know that I had a sailfin tang, a silver spot tang, and a regal tang, dory, as you will. So what happened was I decided to change the fish stock out a little bit. I decided to sell the sailfin and the regal. So they went to the same guy. My silver spot tang wasn't up for sale at all. The gentleman that came to pick them up, he really liked the silver spot, and he said to me, "Look, I'm having the 2. What will you take for the silver spot?" And I was like, "I don't really want to sell. I don't want to sell the silver spot." So I was sort of like, I don't want to get rid of him. He's probably one of my favourite fish in the tank, and I've had him quite a while, longer than any of the others that were in there. So I didn't really want to sell him, but he was sort of insistent, and he offered me a pretty good price for him. He was a decent-ish size. He wasn't really big, but he offered me a good price for what he was, and he was already having the other 2, so I kind of felt a little bit obliged to say, okay. And I did want to change the stock in a little bit anyway, but so yeah, I let that fish go. And then what sort of happened off the back of that was I noticed pretty quickly, after getting rid of 3 tangs out of the tank, is that my sort of algae started sort of creeping back. So first I noticed a little bit of just sort of tufts here and there, nothing too major. I've still got little bits and pieces about, and then off the back of that I noticed on the plate, if you remember, I had a little plate down here, and it had a biggish mushroom on it, and it had 4 smaller mushrooms on it as well. And I noticed on that plate, just out of the blue one day, I just looked at the tank when I came home from work, and I noticed I had little bits of what looked like bubble algae on it, and I thought, right, okay, I was thinking this is going to be an absolute nightmare to sort out and deal with. So I couldn't see it anywhere else in the tank. So what I did is I took that plate out in some water, and I scrubbed that plate, and I cleaned it. I then dipped the plate with the corals on it, the mushroom corals on it, and I dipped that 3 times in 3 separate tubs, and then I put it back in the tank. Didn't think anything of it, and that was fine for about another week and a half, and then I noticed it was creeping again on the same plate. It was just there again. So I thought, right, okay, obviously that's not particularly going to work. So I thought, what can I do? So I thought, okay, I'll frag the mushrooms off the plate. So then I tried to frag the mushrooms off the plate, and I glued them onto some new frag plugs that I brought. And lo and behold, the mushrooms, after they'd been in there quite fine for a day, they just decided to just not stick to the plugs, and before I knew it, they were just free floating around the tank. And the biggest one out the lot ended up getting sucked into the power head on the left side, and it just got absolutely chewed up to bits. So I ended up losing that one, and the only one out the lot which did take to the plugs was this little guy down here. So I've still managed to keep one, thankfully, and I'm hoping this one's going to I'm hoping he's going to grow. It has got a little bit bigger, and it's sort of recovered a bit, so I'm hoping it's going to stay on there and do as it should. But what sort of happened then was, again, coinciding with losing the tangs and not doing a water change for, I think it was about 2.5 weeks I didn't do a water change for. I started noticing then I was getting tiny little bits of bubble algae on the rock in places. So I was thinking, this is probably the biggest thing I've had to sort of deal with in the tank thus far. And the M90, so when I had the M90 over the other side of the room, that went through a stage of going through that ugly stage, and it was a real bad ugly stage. I was cleaning it 2, 3, 4 times a week. The glass was horrendous, the rock work was horrendous, there was algae everywhere. It was just an absolute nightmare. Anyone looking at it at that time would have probably been thinking, why are you not shutting that down? You need to take the rock out and clean it. I've been through phases where most people might have thrown in the towel, but I've sort of stuck with it and persevered, and just kept doing, just kept cleaning, kept doing water changes, just doing all the basic stuff, and I came through that. So with the bubble algae, what I started doing is this week when I did the water change, I cleaned the rocks. So what I did is I had all the pumps off, the return pump was off, all the wave pumps were off. I've only got 2 wave pumps in this tank, so I switched everything off, got the siphon in there, and just with my hand on the lower part of the siphon out the tank, I started the siphon. I had my other hand in with a toothbrush, and in the end though, I actually ended up just using the actual rubber part of the hose I was using, and I used that just to scrape the bubble algae off the rock, the little bits I had, and it just came straight off. So thankfully they came straight off and just straight out of the tube. Every time I got a bit out the tube into the container, I just stopped the flow with my hand, with my fingers, and then I moved on to the next bit, and I just did that throughout the tank. I probably had about six or so clumps of it, and I already knew I had bubble algae. Obviously I've known for about 2 weeks that it's sort of been on the way. So what I did do is I preempted it, or tried to, and I ordered I ended up ordering a couple of emerald crabs. I did try to get some from a couple of local fish shops. They just didn't have any stock in, so I couldn't get any, which was a little bit annoying, because I was sort of hunting around for them, and I would have liked it if they could have gone in probably 2 weeks ago. But I ended up resorting to getting 2 online from an online retailer. I think I put the order in on a Sunday, and I think because of the way they do their deliveries, when they were sent, I think they were sent on Wednesday the following week, and I received them on Thursday, and that was the Thursday just gone. So and today's the 2nd of September. 2nd of September, it's the 2nd of December, sorry. We are nearly approaching Christmas. So the 2 emerald crabs have been in, and I'll be honest, since they've been in, I've not really seen them. They didn't initially go for the rock work. I saw a couple that were like underneath the rocks down this side, and when I was doing my maintenance yesterday, I saw one that was actually in organ pipe coral down this side. So I have seen him, and I can see one at the minute. He's just on the top of the rock, and I'll show you the tank when we do the little walkthrough, and I'll take you off of the stand, and I'll show you what's going on close up. But yeah, so at the minute we've got bubble algae. It looks like it's going to be fairly persistent, and I've just got to try and keep on top of it. I'm going to manually remove as much as I can weekly. I'm going to see how the emerald crabs gets on. If that doesn't work, secondary options, there's probably a couple of fish that might be able to help. One of them I probably would like to stock in this tank, which would probably be a one spot foxface. Sometimes they're known for having a go at bubble algae. It's 50-50, like any fish. Some will say they do, and with other types of algae, other people say theirs don't touch anything. So it's a bit of a 50-50, but yeah, we'll cross that bridge. But at the minute, if I have to get some more emerald crabs, I'll probably go down that route first, and I'll probably end up getting another 2 or 3 emerald crabs, something like that. But as far as the tank goes itself, with the rest of the rock work, I've still got loads of sponges. They're everywhere. They're all over the rocks. They are in the sump. They are, they're just everywhere you look. There seems to be sponges and all sorts of stuff. And I've got loads of, I think they're sort of small versions of feather dusters. So they almost look like, and I kept panicking thinking, I'm pretty sure all of these are Aptasia, but they don't look like Aptasia. And I've seen a couple around, different types of ones, and there's one down on this front bit here, and I'll show you that. But the ones on the rocks, they sort of look like Aptasia, and I'm just hoping they're not. I'm hoping they are. They're just these sort of filter feeders, and they've got longer columns coming off of the rock, which, for the size they are, I don't think Aptasia looks like that. And I've seen Aptasia in this tank. I've seen it before, and I've managed to get rid of them. But these I don't know, and I will show you when I take you off the tripod. I can still see 1 or 2 spots of bubble algae, probably little bits that I've missed, but we'll go through that. Excuse me. We'll go through that when I take you off the tripod. I'm trying to think if there's anything else with the tank. So another thing that has changed is about 3 weeks ago, I went to Tees Reef in Birmingham, and I ended up getting a couple of frags of my first SPS, believe it or not. So again, with this tank, it's been slow and steady. Nothing's been a particular rush. I'm pretty laid back in terms of reefing, and the same from when I did freshwater, fairly laid back. I'm quite diligent at doing my testing and my maintenance. That's always something I sort of strive to do, and I'm a real stickler for it, and I do stick to that routine. But in terms of everything else, I don't let things sort of stress me out too much. I don't look at it and think, oh my god, what's going on here, something's wrong. Panic stations. I mean, even the bubble algae now, I think it's going to be a bit of a challenge, but I'm pretty sure that I can keep on top of it. And as I said, there's a few options of how I can deal with it. But yeah, we've got our first couple of SPS frags. Excuse me. I'm not even sure, I'll be honest, I'm not even sure what they are exactly. All I can tell you is one is green and one is orange. So when I show you them, I think one of them is a type of Montipora, a green Montipora. I might be wrong, and the orange one, I'm not sure. It could be a similar affair, but they're supposed to just be a couple of cheap frags. I think they were £10 each. So you're talking about $7-8 a frag. I wouldn't say they've grown a lot in the last 3 weeks. I think the orange one possibly has grown slightly. The green one doesn't look much different from when it went in, but I'll show you them when I take them off. And you've probably seen, excuse me, the other edition with the algae problem that has sort of been coming back because of obviously losing tangs that went out the tank. I was looking for sort of a replacement for the silver spot, and I ended up getting a blue eye coal tang, which you've probably seen swimming around. So he's been in the tank for about 5 days now, but I had him in an observation tank. I've got a little freshwater tank that I use for I wouldn't say quarantine. I don't quarantine fish to treat them. I just, on occasion, depending on where the fish is from, and just if I feel the tank's at a bit of a vulnerable stage, then, and I think it is at the minute with the trying to get the balance right with the dosing and with the bubble algae, etc. Just I don't need anything else to sort of cause me any more headaches. So he did go in a separate tank, and I just observed him. Didn't do any treatments, nothing. Didn't feel it was required. He was in there for I was observing him for about a week and a half. And for me, as I said, if the fish is feeding, it looks well, then generally I would say, again, I didn't see anything untoward. I probably would have been quite happy just to put him straight in, but again, always, if you feel you have to, and if you've got space, then just set up another small tank and just keep it separate from your main tank. But he's been in there for 5 days now, I think. So he went in. I'll be honest, I didn't acclimate box him. He wasn't in a temporary box at the top or anything. He just went straight in. The temperatures matched, so he literally went from that tank into this one. And to be fair, the Tomley tank gave him a right rough time for the first few days. I'd say the first 2 days he was pretty boisterous towards him. The coal tank spent its whole time up at this top corner up here, so it wasn't looking that great. But it's one thing I've learned from having the previous lot of tanks I had is after a while they do tend to settle down. Excuse me. And by about day 3 or 4, I could see that he was the Tomley tang was less boisterous. He was less of a bully, so that was nice to see. And again, I was a bit surprised because the Tomley, although he's been in here for a little while on his own, a few weeks, I wouldn't have thought he would have been as aggressive as what he has been towards the blue eye coal tang, but he was. But I said both of them are absolutely fine. And the reason why I went for the blue eye coal tang is because I couldn't get a silver spot again, and I thought I'd try something different. The coal tangs with any sort of bristle tooth tang of that nature, they're normally the best at just constantly nitpicking at the rock. So the Tomley tang does, but compared to the silver spot tang I had, he doesn't go around nipping at the rock, picking bits off, nowhere near as much as the silver spot tang did, and that's why I ended up getting the blue eye coal tang. So I'm hoping he's going to be a nice little replacement for the silver spot. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's been going on with the tank. But I'll tell you what did happen is my organ pipe coral down here, that completely shut up shop. That was gone, and I couldn't work out what it was. It was two things I thought it could have been. One was the alkalinity going up, and the second one was my phosphate going up, and I thought one or the other of those was the culprit for that pipe coral not being happy. And then after doing the testing, so I did ramp up my testing, and I was testing midweek as well for just on a couple of parameters, alkalinity and phosphate. I was testing the two just to keep a closer eye on it. The phosphate didn't overly change. It didn't really change. In fact, it didn't go up and it didn't come down. Doesn't mean to say it wasn't the phosphate level, but what did happen, so I hadn't done the water change at this point. All I've done is back off the 4-part dosing, and it shut up shop, so it shot up to 15. That coral's completely closed up, just wasn't having any of it. It wasn't happy at all, and what happened was when it dropped down to about 13 or 12 alkalinity, it started opening up again. It was just little patches, nothing major. It wasn't like fully back, but I knew it was, I knew it could come back. I knew it was gonna, open back up again. But when it got down to about 12, it was starting to open up a lot more. And then I'd say within the last week, it's just fully come back. And as I said, the alkalinity now is sitting at 10. So 100%. The reason why that completely shut up shop was because the alkalinity shot from 9 up to 15, and it just didn't like it at all. Obviously, another coral which was susceptible to that was the candy cane. So the candy cane did sulk, but nowhere near as much. The zoas and the Kenya tree wasn't really that bothered. not by the increase. With the Kenya tree, what I've noticed is now the levels coming back down. The Kenya tree at the minute has actually got smaller, so I don't know if it's just, I say smaller, it's just not as extended and as tall as it normally is. I think it's probably due to the fact of the parameters just swinging back down. I think it's just going to take a little bit of time for that to adjust to the difference in levels. But the zoas and everything else wasn't affected by the downturn in alkalinity. So everything else has been good. I'm trying to think if there's been anything else. There's all sorts of, as I said, I'm noticing all sorts of little bits on the rock. I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100%. I think I've got some sort of worm in here. I'm not 100% sure. I've noticed these little sort of tubes that come out from the rock. Some of them have got a reddish colour to them, some of them have got a white colour to them. I'm not 100% sure. I did look it up a couple of weeks ago and I did come to a couple of conclusions, but I've not, am I overly worried at the minute? Probably not. Whatever they are, I'm sure there's probably a way of getting rid of them, or there'll be a fish of some description, maybe a wrasse that might finish that, might pick them off if that's the case. But at the minute, the main priorities is the bubble algae, but everything else in the tank is doing well, apart from the emerald crabs and the blue eye coal tang. I've got another cleaner shrimp in here, so for some reason my other cleaner shrimp, he was fairly big. I hadn't had him long now. I must have had him, 4-5 months. He'd done a couple of molts in that time, and then one day I'd come down and he just disappeared. He was just gone, nowhere to be seen. I checked all down the side of the cabinet, the other side of the cabinet I was able to get, because there's nothing at the back of this tank, just the extension cables running into the actual sump, but there's nothing down the back. So I had a torch down the back thinking, did he hop out? But I couldn't ever find him. So, and it's been a little while. I say a little while, I think it's been like, at least a couple of months, maybe 3 months. And I haven't had a cleaner shrimp in there, so I've brought another cleaner shrimp. I've got him at the same time as the emerald crabs because I was paying the postage for them anyway. And I thought I might as well stick a cleaner shrimp on there. But everything else is really, really good. I've just got to get control of this 4-part dosing. At the minute, I'm not convinced at the 4-part yet. The fact they say you can just do it off calcium uptake, at the minute for me, it seems sketchy. I don't think it's going to be the case, and I dread to think if I had have gone through the hassle of setting it up on a 4-part doser, I don't know if it'd have been more of a pain trying to dial that in. Whether it'd have made it easier or not, I don't know, but at the minute, I'll see how it goes. if I can't get the two to stabilise together with the calcium and magnesium, I might end up just going back. Well, I say going back, I might just go on to the conventional Red Sea 7-part dosing, but excuse me, I'll see how that goes, and I'll keep you posted. I'm going to do, once things have dialed down with it, I'm going to dive into a deeper review on the Red Sea 4-part and just go over the pros, the cons, what I've learned, things I wish I'd have known at the beginning, and what I've learned from it and what the takeaways are. So I'm going to go over that. I've got a couple of products coming up. They're probably going to be after Christmas now, but I've got a couple of products that I'm going to do a couple of reviews on, so look out for that. And if you don't already, if you're wherever you are, US, UK based, every Sunday, and there's a live stream that Reef Dork does with Prestige Reef, so I recommend you watch that because you get some good content, good information, particularly for anyone in reefing or new reefers. If you're looking at getting into reefing, I highly recommend watching that video. And there's a couple of guys I've recently started watching and interacting with. So one of them is East Coast Reefer. So he's a UK based hobbyist, and he's got a Red Sea Reefer 250. He's got a YouTube channel. He uploads videos every week, and he's done some quite good reviews on products and stuff. So highly recommend looking at East Coast Reefer for some content. And a little shout out to the Norfolk Reefer, and he's got a DD 1200 Pro. So he's got a really nice tank, and I think he did a live stream a week or so ago. I'm trying to catch up. I'm about halfway through watching it on the replay, but he did a live stream with the East Coast Reefer. So highly recommend you go and do that. Check them out and go and have a look at the video. But I'm trying to think if there's anything else going on with this. Coralline algae is still growing in quite a few places. There's just more and more of it appearing on the rocks, which is nice. The wave pumps both took out probably about 3 weeks ago, and they've already got bits of algae on them, but I'm noticing quite readily they're getting a lot of coralline back on them again. So bearing in mind they weren't took out and cleaned that long ago, excuse me, it just shows you that the parameters are okay for coralline to be growing. So anyway, without further ado, I'll take you off the tripod and we'll look a bit closer at the tank. Right, so here we go, guys. You'll have to excuse me because near this tank at the minute I've currently got a Christmas tree. So we'll start down this side. That's the organ pipe coral. So as you can see, that has fully come back and is nice and happy over there. And we've got our zoas over there as well. Try and get that to focus a bit. Go back to the pipe coral. It's almost completely covered that rock now. So I think I'm going to try and frag a little bit of this and try and get it onto a larger frag plug, and I'll see what I can do with it then. But watch this space, some rock work at the back. You can see a bit of coralline. You've got these tiny little white things on the rock there, so they look like worms to me. I'm not 100% sure. You can see some of these little, I call them feather dusters. They look like filter feeders, but I'm not 100% sure. If you think they look like Aptasia, then I've got a lot of Aptasia in this tank and I need to get something to sort it out. But I don't know. I've seen Aptasia in this tank before, small ones, and these don't look like it. But there's the one of the new SPS frags. The shrimp's just in the back there, chilling away. There's a Zoa on the back rock back there. And that's the green SPS. You can see all these little white things down there. That I'm pretty sure these are all sponges. And then you will see these little sort of taller little red bits sticking out the rock. I think there's some sort of snail or some sort, I'm not sure, worm, sorry. But again, if you know, just let me know. Candy canes getting there. They're sort of trying to split and grow a little bit more. There was just on that rock there, so just right of that candy cane, you can see there above that coralline there's a tiny spot of bubble algae. And also I've noticed just down here at the bottom of that side of that rock there's a tiny bit under there. So again, you know, I think this is going to be a bit of an ongoing battle to get hold of this bubble algae, but it was all over mainly on the tops of the rocks really, which is probably where you'd expect it a little bit more. But this guy's just chilling up here. So I don't know if, does anyone else's snails do this? Because I have them in this tank. I do have a cover on normally, but if I'm filming or if I've got the cover off and they're already at the top, they end up coming completely out the tank, which is absolutely crazy. But let's just try and get a little side shot view down the side. So again, come into here, try and get it to focus a little bit. As you can see, just on like the backs and bottoms of the frag plugs there, you can see little bits of algae, and on that wave pump there you can see like little bits, bit of coralline starting again. Back of that rock, this had like bits of bubble algae on the top of this, which I've managed to get off. And the tiny tangs chilling down there. Blue eye corals just sort of circling through. That's the little mushroom. Sorry, little mushroom on its own. The lights on this tank, I probably mentioned it, but they're TMC reef photons, so they're nothing special, but they do a really nice job. Quite like the shimmer that you get from them. They're quite easy. I've got to clean the side of this glass that I completely missed. Look at that. I've got some algae down there in the glass, which again I missed. So I've got some work to do down that back corner, but I'll just take a little step back. And it's just a little wide shot for you. But yeah, I said if you've got any questions, let me know you're getting on with your tanks. And this has been a nice little catch up. And if you've subscribed, thanks for coming back and keeping up with this reefing journey on this Waterbox frag. And I'll look forward to answering any questions you've got in the comments. And until next time, happy reefing. Take care, guys.